Hey, everybody. Fascinating discussion today. As we know, Agentic AI is quickly moving from buzzword to operating model, and Arrived is positioning itself right at the center of that shift. Anurag, how are you?
I'm doing really well, Ivan. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks so much for joining. Really exciting times. Maybe tell us about your background and journey to Arrived, and what's the big idea? How do you describe the mission these days?
Yeah, so I have been in the cyberspace for over 2 decades, and I would say over a decade in the AI space. I moved into classical ML back in 2013, was acquired by Splunk. And then since then, I have been in the AI space doing my first NLP company in 2017, and then doubling down on NLP again with a second company in 2019, doing that for about 5.5 years. The vision of Arrived is to democratize AI and make it accessible to everyone in an organization. As my journey was progressing through classical ML towards NLP, towards NLU, towards generative AI, and then agentic, I could see the potential of what AI has to offer. Um, Even though there are some doubts of what it can do and what it cannot do, but if you're a really believer in AI, the potential is tremendous. And then the vision was very straightforward: is how can we democratize AI so that everybody can harness the power and solve different business problems. Now we open up the market with cybersecurity as a first
Mhm.
vertical. And we have apps in the security operations space, in the identity management space, identity governance space, third-party risk, shadow AI, um, vulnerability and exposure management, audit compliance, and so on and so forth. But the platform is designed for customers to connect the dots, be creative, and solve many different problems, not only in IT, but beyond, uh, cyber and IT and beyond.
Brilliant. Well, we'll dive into all those use cases. You describe at a high level Arrived as agentic OS.
Mhm.
What does that look like inside an enterprise in a practical sense?
Yeah, so we are positioning ourselves as the agentic operating system. Think of it like how VMware came out with ESXi to democratize and
Mm,
leverage full-blown potential of the underlying hardware, CPUs, and memory and I/O.
mhm.
Today, the world wants to get the full potential out of GPUs, the infrastructure that they are investing in. So we are that layer that abstracts that complexity, which is sitting behind the scene, and make it accessible to customers. The way we do that is using three different core components. The first is adaptability. All these language models that we use, be it OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, Quen, DeepSeek, Llama, Mistral, they all are trained on external data. They're not trained on enterprises' data. So the first thing that an enterprise would maybe want to do, or the last thing that they will want to do, is they want a personalized language model on their own entire data set. So they want to adapt the
Mm,
language model to their data. And the second thing that they would want to do is, once they have adapted, they want the system to think and respond and rationalize on that data. So if there is a question, they want to be able to not just answer on it, but look at all the data points and reason on it, just like how a human or a practitioner or an analyst or a business leader would do that. Like, you get all this data, and now you think about it and you come back with, how do we solve a certain problem? So that's where our second element within our platform kicks in, which is our deep reasoning systems. So the customers not only can fine tune language models to our system, they can start building deep reasoning systems. And they can build these deep reasoning systems in different aspects of cybersecurity or IT. They can build a deep reasoning system for your security operations team. They can build a deep reasoning for their identity management team. They can build a deep reasoning for their governance team, their risk team, their compliance team, and so on and so forth. And the last thing that you typically want to do is run automation, right? You have the data that has adapted to your knowledge. You have a system that can think, but then you have to act, right? You have to take that final set of action, that closed loop system. And this is where you can build autonomous agents on our platform. And using these three core pillars of fine tuning, building deep reasoning systems, and building autonomous agents, you can create and solve different problems by either leveraging our pre-built apps or composing your apps from ground up.
Interesting. So, as you know, so many companies are experimenting with tons of different AI tools, maybe too many in-house. Do you see yourself consolidating some of those, or what other problems can you solve that maybe existing platforms aren't solving?
Yeah, they are. They are. I would say a few problems that enterprises typically run into that we help solve. First, a lot of organizations have AI initiatives, and they're focused on developer-centric tools, right?
Mm,
And a lot of developer-centric tools are really amazing. If you look at Cursor or Copilots and all those technologies, like really powerful
mm,
technologies, right? But think about the persona, the business persona. Think about your security team. Think about your IT team. They don't have developers. They have practitioners, right? They have architects. So they cannot write code, and they are not expected to write code. So they need a solution which can amplify their productivity, right? Similar to how the productivity of developers gets amplified using Cloud Code or Cursor-like technology stacks, right? So the second aspect is if you are moving away from these developer-centric tools to practitioner-centric tools like ours, to systems where you do not need highly experienced, skilled people to operate AI. First, because there's a massive shortage, and if there's a talent, then I'm sure Meta and OpenAI are doing these crazy bidding to hire these people. So a lot of organizations are pretty much struggling to hire that talent. So the question is, how can you still leverage the full potential of AI? You need to pretty much expose the technology in a way that a layman can use, right? So that
mm.
second system, that where our platform comes in, is, well, we don't expect developers to use our system. We expect business leaders, business practitioners, architects to come in onto our system, but we make it so easy for them to use that they don't have to crunch through and wait for a specific skilled person to be hired to operate a technology, to harness the potential of AI. And the last thing that comes in is automation based tools. There are a lot of automation based tools that are spinning and saying, well, we have been doing automation, RPA systems for many, many years, and now we will throw in agents to the mix. But that's not really solving a problem. They're trying to leverage their, I would say, an outdated legacy architecture. The older way of doing things was building flowcharts. The newer way of thinking is not building a flowchart at all. It's just giving an objective and letting that objective execute in a controlled, in a governed, in an auditable manner. And that's what our system helps them with. It's uh, uh, helps them move away from writing these complicated playbooks, setting up a team who would do that, figuring out if your technology stack has changed, changing these playbooks, and so on and so forth, right? So spending years to build them out, spend years and a lot of money to manage and maintain them, versus going with a new way of automation, right? Where you don't even build playbooks at all. So those are the core things of how we help customers.
Brilliant. Let's talk security on the heels of RSAC, top of mind to many of us. You're looking at unifying many different domains, SOC and identity and IT ops and et cetera. How hard is that to pull off in an enterprise that, gosh, a bank might have 60 different vendors, lots of legacy environments? How do you add value to that kind of mix?
I would say every executive has run into that problem of
Mm,
fragmented technology stack, and you can see a lot of very established and big players are moving in the same space, be it Cisco, be it Palo Alto, be it
mm,
CrowdStrike, or Zscaler, saying, guys, we are the platform that you need to standardize on. So you can see there is headwinds in that direction. The question then boils down to, do we see standardization beyond that? And we do see that too. Like if you look at your IT service management, then ServiceNow is pretty much the standard, be it the ticketing system being used by your customer service team or your developers or your HR team or finance team. They are on one standard platform. Be it Salesforce as CRM, they are on one standard platform. If a customer is looking for routing, they are on one standard platform. Cisco, if they are looking for switching, they are on another standard platform, maybe Arista or something else. So you can see standardization across the board. The question is very simple. Do you want to run a fragmented AI strategy, or do you want to standardize on an agentic system? And we position ourselves as that agentic operating system that they can standardize on. So that's how we have a conversation with our customers. We align to their standardization philosophy, and that's how we lead in the market.
Brilliant. And so my little business, I'm running 3 different agents as we're speaking. Brilliant. I mean, it's just game changing for me and my business. Of course, I'm not a big enterprise with all the issues that have to be dealt with. So what is the biggest friction in the enterprise adoption of agentic? What hurdles do they need to overcome?
I would say there are still 2 schools of thought that we experience. Folks which are very pro to AI, Gen AI, Agentic AI believers, and other set is folks that just think it's not real. There's no. It's just like it's a hype, and there is no substance behind the hype. I think for the folks who are believers, it's a very easy conversation. The conversation then moves towards a very simple question: do you want to go towards the standardization route, or you want to go through this fragmented strategy? Because if you have 80 products, point product solutions for doing different things, with this agentic wave, your count is going to go up from 80 to maybe like 160 or 200, right? Or so on and so forth. So it boils down towards a very simple discussion about standardization. And that's about it. The folks who are non-believers, it becomes very difficult for them to convince themselves. I think they have to self-convince themselves. I would say, I just joke around. I was very young during the internet creation days, like the 1990s. So I'm sure there were 2 schools of thought running at that point in time, where some folks were pro internet and they said, yeah, this is going to change the world. And there were some people who said, no, this is all noise. There's nothing real behind it. So we know which side won. I am on the believer on the AI side as well, that this is, I think, I would say, the industrial revolution of our century.
That's a great way to put it. I think I'm going to steal that from you. That's a great message. I would agree. Just on my own personal firsthand practical experience working with these agents and others. One challenge the industry has, again, is there are so many projects, science projects, as if you will, trials happening. It was the Gartner summit last fall. One bank talked about 75 different pilots that they're running. This was hopefully some of those came into production. How quickly can you deploy and make an impact? Are we, if these things take a year, multiple quarters, it kind of loses the immediate ROI.
It's very quick with our platform, and I think even in your experience as you're using these agents, you can see the value instantly. Is there value or is there no value, right? It's a very similar thing in the B2B space too. When you go into a very specific team, be it identity, be it SecOps, be it threat intel, they know what the outcome is, right? So the proof is, are we going to get to that outcome fast? And is it going to beat your expectation? Because they're expecting a certain outcome. And the question is not about, can you beat my expectation on what I was thinking I would get? So the POCs are extremely fast. The value can be realized very instantly. And if the customer relates to the value, then your buying cycle also is actually accelerating. and which is very obvious if you look at how the new age AI companies are accelerating to 100 million or beyond in ARR. They are beating the numbers of what SaaS companies to do. The benchmarks were set to 5 years. It was set to 7 years. It then moved down to 5 years, hitting 100 million ARR. And now you're seeing these AI companies are hitting 100 million ARR in about 18 months or so. So there is real value that is being delivered at a very fast rate.
Fantastic. And, the open source momentum is so exciting. I haven't configured OpenClaw yet, but that's been just a phenom, the fastest growing open source project ever, including Linux, and as you kind of mentioned. How do you see that playing into your strategy, and are you planning to open source your solution?
We not yet. We are not planning to open source our solution yet. But as you saw with OpenClaw, it really showed the potential of what AI was designed to do. And very similarly, we were architecting a very similar technology stack, and we launched it at RSA called AetherClaw. It was a very similar technology from a concept perspective, where you can give very complex objectives and you can get a mix of agents and API calls or MCPs execute that objective, but under full governance, compliance, and auditability built in. So not yet to open source our technology, but we are building things which are in the open source world, just in a more secure and governed fashion.
Makes sense. So if we were to fast forward a couple of years, do you have a vision of what a truly open agentic enterprise looks like in practice? What do you see your vision looking like in practice and in practical terms?
Yeah, I would say this agentic journey that these organizations are going towards is, I think, the right bet that they would have to make, and they are making. And they would definitely see massive productivity boost. And they are already seeing a lot of productivity boost and efficiency gains. But I think the conversation will, and there's not much to prove over there. That's already proven. I think it will boil down to really quantifying the ROI investment, right? For every dollar that they're investing, the question would be, how many X number of returns are you getting for that from that agentic investment that you did, right? And that will boil down to much efficient way of running an organization, right? Getting to EBITDAs really faster, better outcome for the investment firms, and so on and so forth, including your customer base. So I can see the journey not just being in cyber. The journey will be in IT, be in HR, in finance, in or operations, and pretty much every aspect of an organization through this agentic transformation.
Brilliant. Can't wait to see that come to reality. What are you excited about over the next few weeks, months, as you roll out your product? Any releases or maybe events? What's on your radar?
Yeah, we are very excited, and we are about to power the first data center with our operating system to make GPUs accessible in a way that has never been experienced before. So that will be one of the first hyperscalers in the world that will get powered using our operating system in very, very soon. So we're super excited about that.
Well, I can't wait for you to come back and talk about all of the goodness coming from that project. Thanks so much for joining. Really learned a lot.
It was a pleasure. Have an amazing time.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for listening, watching, sharing this episode or post. And be sure to check out our TV show, TechImpact.tv, which is on Bloomberg Television and Fox Business. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Anurag.
All right. Thank you so much.